If you haven't watched the Leslie Stahl 60 Minutes interview with Nancy Pelosi, please watch that. I'm going to play a clip here of an interaction between the two. This is typical of Nancy Pelosi's response to an honest question. I don't know why she has to get so defensive about it. Give an answer. So here's the Leslie's going to pose the question, and then you're going to hear Nancy Pelosi's snarky response. How she gets to be Speaker of the House with this kind of diplomacy skills defies explanation. But here we go. Listen to this.
Can we talk about the A word?
What's that?
Age.
Oh, age.
You're 80.
Right.
Your number 2, Steny Hoyer, is 81. Your number 3, Jim Clyburn, is 80. Why haven't you brought young people into the leadership?
Because we have. You perhaps don't know.
Why?
Oh, okay. We have. Perhaps you don't know. Okay, well, Leslie Stahl, I think if anyone would know that, she might have some vague idea of it, and she doesn't know. She's asking the question. I don't know. I haven't seen it. Do you know? Leave a comment if you know what Nancy Pelosi's talking about, because I don't think anybody does. Here we go with the rest of it.
Why does AOC complain that you have not been grooming younger people for leadership?
I don't know. You'll have to ask her.
That's a great answer. I mean, if you don't want to answer a question, that's a great answer. And she does this a lot, and she's not the only one. Lots of people do it. It's a great strategy whenever person A says something about you, and then a person comes along and asks you about what person A said, and you're like, well, you'll have to talk to them about that. And if you could be asking person B, what's your thoughts about what person A said? Well, I don't know. You'll have to ask, like, person A knows your thoughts on this. Like, just answer the damn question.
Because we are.
That was kind of sharp, kind of dismissing her.
I'm not dismissing her. I respect her.
Whatever. See how easily Nancy Pelosi lies? Lies just fly right out of her mouth. She has zero respect for AOC. I promise that's the truth. Let's put her on a lie detector test and ask her. It would have caught on fire from that one.
I think she's very effective, as are many other members in our.
And then dilute the claim. Do you see that? She makes an assertion and then she dilutes it. And that's a weaseler, rhetorically, because if any of her colleagues that don't like AOC was like, what are you kissing AOC's ass? It's like, I wasn't. I was just saying that, she's just like a lot of the other ones. What an asshole. I mean, instead of diplomacy, we're going to use weaselers, rhetoric. This is why nothing got done during the whole pandemic. Nothing got done, and when something did get done, it was pointless. By then it's too late, and what you give us ain't enough. And then the Capitol building gets raided because nobody's doing what they're supposed to be doing. It's like nobody is doing their job and hasn't been for the last 4 years, and that's why we got what we got. I've been on this planet for 50 years. I've never seen anything like this, and that's because in the past, people have done things a certain way, and they've towed a certain line, and they knew or were aware of the dangers, the hazards, if you cross that line. And then we get into about the late 80s, into the 90s, and the line completely disappears, and now you have so much disrespect and vitriol between members of the House, members of the Senate. Nobody can do anything. Everybody is for themselves. They have their own agenda. No one's thinking about the American people, even though they'll tell you it all the time. These people are absolutely worthless. It's never been more apparent how worthless our leaders are right now. And then we're just going to keep re-electing them, keep reappointing them as speaker. The one good thing that's come out of this, I have not been a fan of Josh Hawley since the first day. I've seen him for what he is, and he made that so apparent that now everybody's turning their back on him. That's a good thing, because there goes his shot at being president in 2024, which was what he was pushing for. Well, he miscalculated. And that's a good thing. These people miscalculate all the time, but somehow they Mr. Magoo their way through it and end up on the better side of it, and we're the ones that get screwed. Well, you can only do that so many times before it backfires, and that's what the last 2 weeks have been. Nothing but backfiring of miscalculations from corporate shills who are in it for themselves. It's just all come to it. Every single one of them are to blame. From the media that put a spotlight on this circus and kept it going, to our leaders who abdicated and did absolutely nothing. Well, they tried to do something, but it was fake. When they did try to do something, it wasn't for the right thing. Now we are going to. Now we have the right thing. We're going to try and take care of this problem the right way, at the last second. Unbelievable. You had 4 years. 4 years to predict this. Well, you actually had all of Trump's life up until he became president to predict this. And then you had 4 years to predict this with even more evidence. And nothing happens. It's so disgusting. It's so shameful. It's just embarrassing. It's irritating. And it's just one more example of how we are living in an ever-increasing failed state. So that's my take on just Nancy Pelosi and her bullcrap. I've got more. I've got plenty more. But that's just this part of it. There are many facets to it. The left is talking about, this is the problem, this is to blame, this is to blame. The right's talking about, oh, how did this happen? And I think people are kind of missing a few points. A few things are falling in between. I don't necessarily blame Trump supporters for what happened. Altogether, they're not 100% responsible. If you've got a friend and you tell that friend that somebody else did something to you, and it'd be nice if something happened to that person, and then your friend went over there and took care of it, yeah, they're responsible for acting on that, but you're responsible too for planting the idea in their head. So there's shared responsibility there. I don't want to see this happen again. I know you guys don't want to see this happen again. Maybe some of you do. You have all the reasons that we could have, that a horde of people should attack the Capitol building. Of all the reasons, this wasn't one of them. This wasn't even close to one of them. You would have had more justification to storm the Capitol building if you preferred Pepsi over Coke, because that would have been like some kind of real thing. And the people that invaded, both sides, I'll say on the left, when the left was doing their protests all summer long, they had some characters. Let me tell you, they had some characters. So when you pull the most sensational elements out of the right in the Capitol building and try to say this is what these people, that's not. Most Trump supporters aren't carrying spears, aren't dressed up like Tarzan. But that's what the media will focus on, because that's what sells copy, that's what makes them money, and that's part of the problem. The media should be about truth, primarily, and then the reward for delivering the truth is monetary. But that's not what we see. We see the push is always monetary, and the truth will be secondary, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, or at all. That's contributing to the problem more than anything. I watched mainstream media the other day, could not stomach it. I couldn't take it. All of the rhetoric, the polish, the tacit behind the scenes pushing of whatever narrative, it's glaring. You can tell, you can see it. My broken news opening has a dozen or 24 different reporters, different news stations, reporting the same exact story word for word. That's why I have that in there. The whole reason why I do this is because of the dangers that the media is posing to the American people. They are a threat. They always have been. And that's why it's important that I say this almost every video. We have to improve our ability to understand the information we're taking in, to vet it, to test it for its veracity. We don't. We just hear something and go with it. And the media preys on that. So if we want to be victims of the media, we can just go back to being dumb as stones. But our forefathers, the framers They understood this, and that's why they said, we've got to educate people. They need to understand what's going on so that newspapers can't just print a couple pictures and everyone loses their mind. So I'm going to keep saying this every video, that we need stronger critical thinking skills. We need a media with some integrity, or at least some media with integrity. There isn't any. You have to go to independent journalists. You have to go to people who have left these organizations because they couldn't stomach it, but they still want to do what they do. They're still passionate about delivering the truth to people and understanding the importance of that. So you have to find these people who have been smeared by mainstream media. That's your first sign that someone knows what they're talking about, is if they've been smeared by mainstream media. I'll have more on this later, but it's all kind of wearing me out. I'm going to follow the House hearings today over the articles of impeachment, and I'll give you some details on that and what all this means, if you want to hear it. If not, then do what you do. But until then, thanks for listening, and I'll talk to you again real soon.